Hey everybody, today is April 7th, 2025. Welcome again to another short video courtesy of investingsuccess.ca. There is a biblical publication, if you want to call it that. It's called the Book of Enoch. Now, you're not going to find it in the Bible. It was carefully excluded by the authorities that created the modern day Bible. And it was excluded because it's controversial and it contains references to numbers and counting, and some of the stories and excerpts from the Book of Enoch are probably a little bit too far-fetched for the average person. Not so for W.D. Gann. He knew about the missing Book of Enoch, and he actually crafted then something called the Cycle of Enoch. So Mr. Gann, in crafting the Cycle of Enoch, started with the square of 9. And in particular, he focused on the horizontal arm of the square of 9. And he was particularly fascinated with the number 28 and the number 19. So he said, let's use 19 and 28 as the starting point for creating a cycle. Add those two numbers together, you get 47. Take 47 and add 28. What do you get? 75. Take 75 and add 47. What do you get? 122. Take 122 and add 75. What do you get? 197. Every term in that cycle is the sum total of the two previous terms. Have you seen that before? Yes, you have. Fibonacci sequence. So the cycle of Enoch is nothing more than a recursive sequence. It's not too far different from the Fibonacci sequence. And so Mr. Gann said, use these numbers in the cycle of Enoch and treat them as calendar days. So from a significant high or low on a price chart, project forward that number of days. Project forward 19 days, 28 days, 47 days, 75 days. You should, at each of these intervals, encounter some kind of a turning point. It could be minor, it could be major. But he said, project these numbers forward and see what they tell you. So let's do that, in fact, and we'll see what we can learn here. So here is the S&P 500. We made a topping formation in about the third week of January. Another top came in February, so double top formation, and since then the S&P has just been ugly. People are worried about tariffs, trade wars, slowing economy, all of that good stuff. If I project these Enoch cyclical numbers, I can see that a projection of 47 calendar days from the January top takes me to right here. Yeah, that's the bottom. That was a trend turning point and the beginning of a counter trend rally. So the cycle of Enoch, very powerful. It actually predicted that that would be the turning point. If I take the next interval, 75 days, that actually is going to take me to right around here and now. Tomorrow is the 8th of April. Today is the 7th. So Cycle of Enoch says that there should be something happening in the next several days here. I think what it's going to be is a counter trend rally. Is that going to take us back to the old highs in January? No, probably not. But it's going to give us some kind of a relief from the recent weakness and the panic. Will there be more panic and selling yet to come? Probably will be, because there's more uncertainty yet to come. And by the way, in the zodiac, Saturn is conjunct the North Node. Louise McWhirter, in her 1937 book, said when Saturn and Node are conjunct, that casts a negative shadow over the economy. So, am I surprised to see all of the panic and talk about a recession and global trade wars? No. Saturn and the Node, conjunct in the zodiac. All right, so there should be something then in theory happening here and now on the S&P 500. And in fact, here we are. Last Friday, April 4th, it was ugly. People wanted out. They wanted out before the weekend. They weren't sure what was going to transpire with regards to more tariffs or global trade wars or countervailing tariffs and all of that stuff. Now, that fits perfectly well with the cycle of Enoch. And today, I just checked the S&P 500 intraday. It looks like it's going to finish positive today. So we could be seeing some sort of a relief rally, counter-trend rally. And it wouldn't surprise me because the cycle of Enoch says that, yeah, something was bound to happen right around now. Let's see what else we can learn here. Mr. Gann was particularly enamored with the moon. He used it as a timekeeping device. In particular, he followed the 27.3-day sidereal cycle of the moon. And as I've indicated in my previous writings, if you were out in space at a fixed location, let's say that you were standing on the sun doesn't move, so you're at a fixed location, you would be able to see the planets orbiting around the sun. You would be able to see the planet Earth in its orbital path around the sun, and you would be able to see the moon going around planet Earth. And from your fixed vantage point way out in space, if you timed it, you would see the moon going one time around the Earth in 27.3 days. That is the sidereal cycle. That's the cycle of the moon that Mr. Gann very much enjoyed using as a timing mechanism. Let's take a look at a chart of these sidereal cycles. And here they are. I've overlaid them going way back into April of 2024. And if you look very carefully at each of the sidereal cycles, you'll see that they align very closely to turning points. Sometimes they're a bit off. And I'm just delineating a few here for you with the pen on the chart. Now, we are due on about April 9th. So this week is the end of one of these 27.3-day cyclical intervals on the S&P. So we've got the cycle of Enoch saying that there's something probably happening, right here and now. You've got a sidereal cycle of the moon ending in a couple days. So that's further evidence that this week is going to be a rather interesting week on the equity market. Let's see what else we can find here. George Bayer, I've talked about his rules before, both in writing and in some of these videos. Mr. Bayer had rule number 43, which said, take a look at the heliocentric latitude of the planet Venus. And you can see that it oscillates between -3 degrees and +3 degrees. Mr. Bayer said, take a look at those times when the heliocentric latitude of Venus is at 0 degrees, 2 degrees and 16 minutes, and 3 degrees 23 minutes. In other words, maximum 0 and sort of midway in between. So on this chart of the S&P, I've overlaid some of these intervals, and sure enough, according to Bayer, 11th of April is going to give us one of these key intervals to watch as per Rule 43. So again, there's another piece of evidence that says this week is going to be very interesting on the equity markets. Mr. Bayer also had Rule 41, and he said the mean motion of the sun can be plotted on a chart, and then you overlay that chart with the speed of planet Mercury. And what he said was, as Mercury in its orbit around the sun, as it picks up speed, and at the time when it matches the orbital speed of the sun, that fiery ball of gas, yes, it does actually have motion to it, when their respective speeds, motions are equal, he said you can expect some kind of a trend change. So sure enough, if we go back to, August of 2024, there it is. Here's another one here in December of 2024. Again, the speed of Mercury is increasing when it matches momentarily the same means motion of the sun. Look what happened. There's another sharp sell-off followed by a gap higher and a trend change. Here's the next one, April 11th. Again, further evidence that this week is going to be very interesting on the equity markets. Let's see what else we got. Mr. Bayer had rule 36 and 38. 36 was this one here. Look for the times when Sun and Mercury are conjunct in the zodiac. And you can see that on the chart I've delineated those with these pink boxes. And he said project forward 60 degrees of the Sun. So here's one of the conjunctions was in February. So I project forward 60 degrees. Where does that take me? April 10th, this week. Here's another one in March, and if I project forward, where does that take me? May 25th. So, and I think May 25th was one of those numbers I indicated in the Enoch cycle. So again, there's evidence of, something is going to happen this week. Now, Bayer also said in rule number 38, take a look at the heliocentric latitude of Mercury. And he said when Mercury crosses through 0 degrees, you can potentially expect some kind of a trend change. And sure enough, the trend change indicates that April 8th should be something. So again, evidence yet again that this week we should see some sort of a change in attitude, sentiment, fear level on the S&P 500. So you can use these rules and these lunar timing mechanisms and these recursive sequences to sort of give you a glimpse into the future of when to potentially expect turning points on the markets. Now, you still have to use your technical chart analysis to make sure that the trend is in fact changing and it's not some sort of a false signal. But if you can do that, take that short-term in and out mentality and see if you can make some money for yourself. And I'm getting ready to do that this week on some stocks that I have on my radar screen. And I hope to do some in and out short-term trading and capture a few dollars. And that's it for this short little video. So again, why do I do what I do? Look, these rules, these timing mechanisms, these cycles, these things all worked in the 20s, 30s, 40s. Gann used them, McWhirter used them, other people use them. They do work. It's just we are connected to our cosmos. Our emotion is governed by the planets. I do what I do. I write what I write. I post what I post because I don't want to see this stuff fading into obscurity. And we know that in the 1940s, the academics at Yale and Harvard introduced, things like the frontier efficiency curve, modern portfolio theory. They basically told people that you can't time the markets. You have to buy and hold and, never mind sell-offs and panic moments in the market. Just buy and hold and forget about it until you're old and gray. And that's how the industry makes so much money in terms of fees and, rebalancing your portfolio every couple of years. I disagree with all of that nonsense. You've got to get the hell out of the way when things go sideways. And a lot of these timing mechanisms, sequences of numbers and planetary, heliocentric latitudes, this is how you time it. This is how you measure the changes in emotion, and this is how you develop the wherewithal to get out of the way when things get ugly, and then to get back in when panic is running rampant and blood is flowing in the streets, as it were. So That's it for me, and I'm going to keep doing what I do. I do hope you're enjoying it. I hope you're learning from it. I hope you're documenting some of this, and I do hope you're going to share it with your children and your grandchildren and pass it on into the future. We'll talk again real soon. I've obviously got more to talk about, but for here and now, I think this week is going to be somewhat interesting on the markets. Stay tuned.